I want you guys to promise me something. You'll never sacrifice the stereo mix for mono anything. All right? Mono is not what anybody listens to music on today. Okay? Mono is not what a Bluetooth speaker is, even though it's coming out of one place in the room, one fixed point. They have the technology in these Bluetooth speakers today where they're giving you a perceived stereo field of left and right out of multiple speakers. It's not mono, and it is always the kind of thing that feels stereo. They're giving you back what we've created in a stereo mix in that speaker. Same with a cell phone. Cell phones are stereo today. Same with a laptop. Same with headphones. It's same with a car, same with a club. Everything they're playing you is stereo. So don't be living in mono. Don't be down mixing to mono to make sure it works, the whole mix. You could flip it to mono to just check and make sure things work, but this is what you're checking. You're checking that the balance of the entire song is the same when you go to mono. That's all you're checking. In other words, the drums, the bass, the vocals, the guitars, just make sure the volume is still right. And if it's not exactly the same, it should be close, because you will lose ear candy, you'll lose width, you'll lose that magic you created by panning things all over. You got no choice. That's why mono is terrible, because you'll lose all that. But just make sure the volume is close. The balance between the faders is close when you flip it to mono. And do this for like 5% of the time or less. 1 to 5% of the time of your mix. 1 to 5. That's it. The rest of the time you're in stereo, because that's what matters, okay? Don't spend your life in mono. And then if you could, like, I heard somebody say this once, it made no sense to me, and I tried it for like a minute in the beginning and it made no sense, so I abandoned it a long time ago. But the concept of mixing in mono and then making it stereo like at the end and then it's great, I don't know what that means. That's ridiculous and I don't like it, okay? So if somebody does that, great. I don't do it. I don't recommend doing it. Bottom line, okay? Let's also talk about effects. Multi-mono effects compared to stereo effects. What is the difference, and when would you use one compared to the other? I've talked about this before. I love using multi-mono effects most of the time, and I would say that if you guys start using multi-mono instead of stereo on all your parallel buses, compression especially, but even reverbs, like anything in parallel, effects wise in parallel, you will enjoy it much more than stereo. And let me tell you why. Because you will get extra stereo width. That width, the way a mix feels wider, is because the left side is unlinked from the right side, meaning what happens on the left is slightly different than what happens on the right. Not when things happen on the left, it's treated the exact same way on the right. You don't want that. That creates less of that width, less of a wide stereo field, and less excitement, okay? The only time I'll rock stereo usually is on my mix bus, all right? On my mix bus, and maybe on some tracks, especially on mono tracks that I'm trying to create and make stereo. Then yeah, makes sense. You may have to do that. But on my mix bus, I like to link most of the time, but sometimes I will go unlinked, and it's something I'm constantly trying. It's as easy as flipping a button for me to hear the difference of how it sounds, unlinked compared to linked. And that's what multi-mono is. Multi-mono means left side treated completely different from right. So you could do this on a little scale of just, the threshold down 2 clicks or 1 click, the gain up, 1 click on the other side, and just treating the left different from the right is going to give you extra width the same way it will if you record a guitar and pan it left, and then you want to make the guitar sound bigger, so you don't use that same exact guitar sound and pan it right. You pick up a different guitar, you change the effect pedal, you change something about it, flip the pickups, anything to make the stereo field wider. Same on backup vocals. You got vocal stacks going on. Why not, when you know what you're going to do, like I want to pan one left and one right, why not literally change the mic on the second vocal and pan one left with one mic, one right with one mic, or add a little saturation if you got all the same vocal mic happening to one side compared to the other, or add a little low pass filter, something that's going to take out some high end on one side compared to the other a little bit. change it up a little bit. This is going to add to your width. Everything you do when you're mixing, you should be thinking this way. How can I make it a better experience for the listener? And that means make the brain more interested, and that will happen by not hearing the same thing on the left as you do on the right. It should be interesting in that, like, and this is where I won't do it. Ready? If it's distracting. In other words, interesting is great, excitement is great, but distracting is bad. So if all of a sudden you start getting distracted by whatever it is that you've created because it's moving too much between left and right, that's when I will go back to stereo. And that's literally how I look at it. I start in multi-mono and I go back to stereo. Let me show you what it looks like real quick on a plugin, just so you know that before we get out of here. Check it out. This is an Abbey Road Chambers plugin. Now, when you pull up a multi-mono plugin, see multi-mono, reverb, Abbey Road Chambers, sometimes this will be linked. So you see this master link button? I'm just gonna link it. So you see how it's making it where if I were to lower this, and you see how it says an L under it, that L is actually left side. Now, if I switch to the right side, you see how it's actually in the same place. See, it's there, and then look, it's there. Now, all you have to do is unlink it for now the left side. If I were to move this down to here, let's say, just so you can see the difference, I just turned it off on the left, basically. But check it out. The right is still here. That's the beauty. This is what I mean by you can make the left side slightly different from the right, and that wasn't slightly, obviously, but it's just for the example. So, in other words, I may click this up a smidge, and I may click the other side, down a smidge from there. So, it's just a little bit different left and right. It could be on the output. It could be on the amount of anything. The top cut, like literally whatever plugin you're using, figure out how to manipulate it slightly on one side, different than the other. And if you're sending everything the same to that plugin, but some stuff in your mix pan left, that's going to hit the left side of this, and some stuff right, it's going to hit the right side of this. That's what you want. And you want the plugin to work differently depending on what it's getting from either side. There you go. That's the reason we do this. Trust me when I tell you, this is going to level your skill level up there. And I didn't come up with this idea, I want you to know. I heard it from Andrew Sheps, and I was like, damn, that makes sense. And I haven't looked back since because it works, all right? So do me a favor, try this out. If you dig it, I want to hear about it in the comments section, all right? If this gives you fire to try new things, I want to hear about it. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. That would be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. This is Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. Take it easy.